Hi everyone, this is the instruction video for our Halloween Luminary craft kit, the Luminary Jars. And in your kit you have a Sharpie, you've got a fine tip, I've got one that's got you've got a super fine, I've got one that's got fine and super fine, but it works the same way. You've got some color powder, you have your templates of Halloween silhouettes, you've got your jar, some twine, and some glue. You will also want paintbrush and scissors. And in the end, it's going to look something like this. So there's our sample. How do you make it look like that? First of all, we're going to take the lid of the jar and we're going to put it aside. I didn't use it in mine. You can decorate the lid if you would like. And the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the decorations, the drawings, on the outside of our jar. So I gave you some silhouettes to choose from. You can also go online, and if you just type in Halloween silhouettes, you can print out new ones that you like. You can draw things freehand if you're good at that, whatever you want to do. So I am going to cut out one of these houses. I think I want that on my jar. And I'm going to make this jar orange, so I think I want some of the jack-o'-lanterns on my jar as well. And I'll decide which ones in a bit. Alright, I'm going to put my silhouettes off to the side. Now, to get these onto your jar, you're going to use your permanent marker. What I do is I put what I'm going to be tracing inside the jar, and then usually it does exactly that, it falls out. So what I found is if you put a little bit of tape on and you tape it to the inside of the jar where you want it to be, and you only really need like one piece, you can kind of get it to stay still enough that you can trace it. And then onto the outside of the jar, I put that, I don't know if you can see, I put this onto this seam here, and I don't actually want that. I want it to be on the flat side so that it's easier to draw. So I'm going to turn that a little bit and stick it on. There we go. Ta-da! And all you're going to do is take your superfine, not magic marker, permanent marker, and you're going to trace and fill in where everything is. What I usually do is I draw the details, like I trace around the windows and the doors first where I don't want the marker to go, and then I go in around those to fill in the space, because it's easier if I make a mistake with a detail. It's easy to fill it in and just make it look like, oh, there wasn't a window there, than if I make a mistake while I'm trying to color the big space around it and color over it, and I did want a window there. So trace in your details and then kind of go around them. You might want to get up close. Just don't get too close, because permanent markers have fumes and they smell awful. If you do end up having to get in close, take breaks frequently to just stand up and take a deep breath sometimes. If there's any part of your house you're not a big fan of, you can just leave it off. If you like parts of one house and parts of a different house, you can trace the parts of the one house you like and then trace the parts of a different house that you also like. That would look cool. I really love these trees, so I'm going to try to trace these. You're not going to get an exact replica of what the drawing looks like just because you only have the one thickness of marker, and that's going to make it a little bit less detailed. Alright, that looks good. And then I've got the edges of the ground here. And this other tree I think I'll trace. Alright. And now what I'm going to do, I've traced the outlines, I've done some of the filling in. I'm actually going to take my silhouette back off of the jar so that I can see what my actual jar looks like. I'll keep it next to me so that I have something to kind of refer to. For grass, I usually just do jaggedy scribbles, and that ends up looking like grass. And then let's finish filling this in. Now what you might want to do to get the coverage from your permanent marker really good is go over things a couple times. That's absolutely allowed. Because you want the parts you're filling in to be as smooth as possible and to block as much light as possible to make it really show up. Alright, almost there. Couple more little spots. Alrighty. There we go. And then if I wanted to add my pumpkins or my words, I would just do the same thing. I would tape this wherever I wanted it to be and trace them on the outside with the permanent marker. You do want to then give this a couple minutes to dry while you're waiting, because the permanent marker will smudge while it's still wet. Once it dries, it's on there. I can show you with this guy. It's not going to rub off, but while it's still wet, since this is such a smooth surface, it might come off on your fingers a little bit. If you get permanent marker on your hands and you want to get it off really quickly, rubbing alcohol or nail polish remover will do that. Pro tip. Alright, it is now time to color our glue. I've got my clear glue in there. You've got a little bundle, and you've got these baggies of coloring. You're not going to need the whole baggie to get the color you want, probably. I'm gonna make this one orange, so be careful with these baggies. This color powder is washable, but you don't want to take the risk of it staining. And just sprinkle some into your glue. You can see I didn't use the whole thing, not even close. And then stir it with your paintbrush or a spoon, whatever you feel like. It takes this powder a little while to dissolve, but you do want it to be smooth and not like super chunky in there, so do take the time to stir it nicely. I'm gonna give mine a little more powder. So this powder is awesome. If you have leftover, you can also mix this with water and it becomes paint. If you're looking for some quick paint, it's called tempera powder. It's amazing. Alright, there we go. That's a good, smooth, bright, brilliant orange. I like it. And we are going to color the inside of the jar. And the glue, when it dries mostly transparent, but you've still got the color, and that's what gives it this cool, like sea glass, stained glass kind of look. So you've got two options here. You can really carefully paint in your glue, and if you do this, you're probably going to want to do a couple of coats of glue, so that it doesn't look streaky like that. The other way you can do this, and this is a little bit less controlled, and it also takes a little bit longer to dry, you can take your glue and dump it into your jar. I would do a little bit less than half to start, and then just roll it around the inside until the glue covers the whole inside of the jar. It's kind of cool and Halloweeny and slimy and fun to do it this way. It also takes a long time. Need a little bit more for this side. It's also a little bit messier to do it this way. Or you can do a combo of both. You can do one layer with the brush and then one layer of rolling it around. You can dump it in and start by rolling it around and then use your brush to kind of encourage it to spread out. Whatever you want. And then I always do the inside here so that the whole jar is one orangey color. And now you can see in there I've got extra glue that's kind of chunky on the sides. And what's going to happen with that, and what's going to happen with all of it, honestly, is it's going to start collecting in the bottom of the jar as this dries. So you kind of have to leave it to dry for a bit and then come back and pick it up and tilt it all around, so that you don't get a big clump down in the bottom and nothing up at the top. That's the way in which the paintbrush method is far superior, even though you have to spend more time at the beginning spreading it out nice and even and doing thin coats and then waiting for the thin coat to dry and adding a second coat. It does mean that you don't have to check on it while it's drying and keep spreading it out, like you do with the dumping in method. So you guys can make your choice whether you want to check on it a bunch throughout the drying time, or if you want to spend some more time painting it on layer by layer. That's up to you. And this is a little bit darker. It's gonna dry a little bit more clear than this, which looks really cool. To add our twine, make this look a little bit fancy and Halloweeny, you just tie it around like that so that you can find this end again. and then you start wrapping, kind of nice and tight. Make sure that you're getting it into the threads of where the cap screws on. Those hold the twine nice and still for you. Overlap it a little bit so that it covers all of the blank spots. And when you get about to the end, like I don't have enough here to wrap all the way back around to this other end, so I'm going to stop here. And the end that I already tied, I'm going to tie again to this end. Nice knot, double knot, and trim it. And now this twine, you can actually twist it if you're careful, and you can put your knot anywhere like you want it to be. I like mine kind of on the front, centered over the front there. You can do whatever you feel like. The real key to this project, I will tell you right now, it's not a lot of steps, it's not a lot of complicated steps. The real key to getting it to look nice is being patient and taking your time and going slowly while you're doing your tracing and looking carefully. Like I can see some places where I didn't get it all the way filled in, or I didn't get all the way up to a line, so I'm going to go back once this video is done and kind of fill those in better, because I want this to look its best. So to get it to look really good, you have to be patient and take your time. That is the real secret to having crafts that look good, even if they're simple, easy stuff. Take your time, have patience, and go back and look at it again to check those details. And now once this dries, what I would do is put like a little fake candle in there, and you've got a cute Halloween luminary jar / candle holder to decorate your house in this festive spooky season. I hope you enjoyed making this with me. I hope that you have a wonderful Halloween, and I will see you next week. Bye!